peace, Islam, and greetings. These are the works, these are the sources used that we can use to battle this uh, uh, Great Reset of 1492, destroying the western half of the Moorish Empire. Then we'll put it back. Then these the text. The screenshot. And mostly where all this information coming from. You'll find most of these on archives.org. Right, the summary of the natural history of the Indies. Definitely get that. Chronicles of War the Second. Definitely get that. History of the New World by Benzoni, get that. Definitely get anything by Pulgar. You can see some Pulgar work later. Some of the works. Let's begin. Now the text you need to get: Life and Truth, collected from the Bible, ancient and modern history, containing the universal history of the colored Indian race, by R.B. Lewis, Amor. So, and he talk about St. Augustine. St. Augustine is the first city, according to the narratives that we get, the first city on the continent, either Florida, or the second city based off, if you want to count Columbus, San Salvador, or Cumana. So basically, the Florida first city, St. Augustine, an African who was born in the city of Tagasta in Algiers, the ancient Numidia. His father's name was Patricius, a pagan, and continued till near his death. Monica, to his mother, was renowned for her Christian piety. St. Augustine wrote several valuable histories. So just to let you know, St. Augustine, and he talked about City of God, which is Morocco, as a city. But as we can see, we're already getting into Moorish history. Untold, the shepherds of antiquity. Now the shepherds who were the Moors who could have sailed the seas because of their knowledge of astronomy. We're going to see how it began. Abel, the son of Adam, was the first shepherd, a keeper of sheep, a righteous man. The Ethiopian shepherds of Egypt and Chaldea, and using the term Ethiopia as how we use the term black today. It's a dark-skinned person. In this times, 1840s, they definitely using terms like that, Roman terms. Say in Egypt and Chaldea first acquired a knowledge of the stars, which guarding their flock by night. Their employment led them to contemplate the stars, while their flocks in the silence of night were enjoying sweet repose. The spangled sky would naturally invite the attention of the shepherds. The observation of the heavenly bodies afforded them amusement and at the same time assisted them in traveling in the night. So you can see what a lot of the science stemmed from. A star guided the shepherds to the manger where our blessed Savior was born. By the aid of the lively imagination, they distributed the stars into a number of constellations or companies, of which they gave the name of the animals which they represented. So we see where constellations and stuff come from, these old Moors. He gave it from a Christian standpoint because that's how we've been in this time, 1840s in America, North America. And from them we have received the science of astronomy. The Canaanites or Phoenicians were shepherds. The Kushans and the Sumerians were shepherds. And all these is Moors. The Syrians were shepherds. The inhabitants of Lower Egypt were originally shepherds, and those of Upper Egypt and the best of the land of Goshen or Ramses were shepherds. The Arabian shepherds brought Jehoshaphat presents of their flocks, 7,700 rams, and as many he-goats. The shepherds watched their flocks day and night and guided them with their dog. All the flocks of Kedar, the Arabians, shall be gathered together. They shall come up with the settings on my altar, and I will glorify the house or people of my glory. So basically, we're talking about the shepherds in the country of Canaan called Judea. But we're going to see these shepherds, they understood the stars, and these stars is going to be the reason, the way they navigate in the ancient world. And they knew the skies. Like right now, you can look at the handle they're baked up until what season in. Small things like that they knew. So in Venezuela, you see the story play out as wars between Moors and Moros, Cristianos, that eventually became a race. We get into that. Some castles we see in America, some abandoned, some they have events and weddings, museums. We see old forts and castles. It's Haiti. But the architecture gonna take you right back to Canaan, Egypt, and to those shepherds that we just finished reading about. What we telling you from chapter 47, 48, that's what we know. All this what I telling you in these videos is just evidence to that fact. It's not out for debate. We already know chapter 48 is the history of the Moorish American. Now I'm going to show you. Florida. South Carolina on Murrell Road. You can tell they chopped that down. That would have been probably a higher tower than that. You see Ataya Castle, South Carolina, and Moorish style, because they know. Moors are just Americans. Reference letters to the whatever editor, Evening Journal, Wilmington, Delaware, February 11, 1972. There are many references to that, meaning that Americans were originally known as that. As you can see, Americans. Fit into his robe, all white robe. See, he got a right around his arm. You can see the peace offerings. You can see these same things in Sumer and in Egypt. You can see the peace offerings, which is eventually became known as Islam. Etymology. Under the etymology, Salam and Islam began. These same things as this what they're doing. Peace offerings. You can see Moorish wars going on in early America. And these, you see caste systems. More walls, Moorish walls. You just keep these in mind because that's how they say Castile and Portugal get any kind of footing after like 100 years of trying. It's when the Moors start having civil wars among themselves. So pay attention to this. You see that fish. They had the fish in the front and they had the bags, the hanging bags with the fish. Other animals too, and the headdress, but one of the main things in the fish. We're gonna talk about that. See the headdress, what they call the Moorish headdress in that book. Same one right there, the green one right there. They got that in the museum in its own display. So the original caste systems been like this. You're gonna see the next caste systems they came from the Reconquistas. So you got war. See, dressing all white. The sisterhood. It's a harem scene in America. That's a redrawing. Everybody looked like this. Very accurate. So you see the procession. They have a funeral procession like with a second line, right? Like the Moors in New Orleans today. You see them with all white robes. The Kirkastans, but known as the white people because they had white robes in their priesthood. So we're gonna watch that. That's the trick they like to use. They'll call it the Moors Tuareg, the blue Moors, because they have on blue. But it's after we get reset, they'll have you believe that they're talking about people blue while they're wearing all white. You see why people, so many books talk about the white gods that came to America and all this. You gotta understand, they ain't had those type of caste systems back then. In those times, that came later. And even at that time, still ain't no such thing as white. You're gonna see that. Showing you these because we're gonna connect them to a good bit of people. Many blacks in Cartagena, where the Creole slaves regularly drank cocoa, eating meats exclusive to the Indian, such as chicken. They knew the secrets of local herbs, knowing how to remedy snake bites and the effect of poison. These blacks played with bows and fight the tiger, killing it with a baton. They wore cotton fabrics woven at home. They were appreciated divers on Pearl Island. Imported in Panama, the neighborhood was called Guinea, revealing the origin of the neighbors. So I say that to say that it's from Poogar, and Poogar was one of the earliest writers on what was going on over here. So Cartagena in America, basically been a land of blacks to them at that time. Africa, Ethiopia, anything that means black, land of blacks and Rome, or whatever language we're dealing with. So Poogar, the only portion he talked about was from here, which is a land of blacks in language, Nicaragua, the land of black. You're gonna see where I get pushed to later during the meridian shift, when the meridian shift, Pleiadian shift, fauna. We already gonna do that. Circular maps. We have a fauna land, and that's where it is. Right. At that time, so we have Colon. In Panama, we say, yeah, Panama, Colon. They have to work they get kidnapped from here, wars or whatever going on between Moors and Christians, and get sent here to work the mines of Veragua. Ain't that many place things want to show up. So no place names want to show up today. That's alright, we got old maps, we're gonna look at it. But this we talking about from imported. She said the fact that the neighbors of Panama, which is a word that means residents, if we want to modernize it, like the word discovery means in our day, but in their day it meant registering, baptizing. The word neighbors means the residents around Panama. A gold mine around here too, in Veragua. My connection. So when he changed this from Rio de Oro, he come to register us, called Discover at the time. He been sent here to discover us, to register it, and he registered as Veraguas, which he did to a lot of places from here New Spain, the islands, and all this down to Peru, to size Portugal. We're gonna talk about the Portugal like we did in the last video, mixing with the Castillo, but we're gonna get to the bottom of it all. We pointing this out because we're gonna show you how these is the ancient Canaanites and Carthaginians who just been there since time immemorial. So we got our own maps. And you got the Zarquays or the Sheiks. You can change one vowel, that O to E, now you got the Zarquays. Look at the island of the Negritos, like God in the east. Triangulo. Look that up and got books talking about that one island. Cause you would've get shipped to these islands if you been fucked up in the wall. The island of the Lobo. So basically talking about when we see Golfe Duque, you're gonna see that a lot of Negroes. We already know all the pyramids and everything up in this area. Olmec. You see the Isles of the Pearls. You have multiple, all these, mouth of the dragon. You got multiple of that too, Talamanca, Trinidad, Cartago. Yeah, them things got stories too now. We don't want to talk about these stories. Killed the second Muhammad after the battle of Al-Khazar Quiver. The Sharif Hamete, you see that's a word that means sheikh too. Shekwe, Kakishe, Kashike, Sharife, spelled differently. It's unlimited. Hamete undertook the conquest of Guinea, surpassing the Sus. Newly acquired territory, Polinon and Castillo, would be Pedro Venegas, embarked in Azamor after a prolonged embassy in Morocco, who warned that it was a land of a lot of gold, trying to hinder the unpleasant loss of a good that belonged to it because it was attached to the crown of Portugal. Austria managed to lose 5 Portugal places in one go, including Santa Cruz and Safi. As a result, Hamete was known as El Dorado. Born in Venezuela and author of some elegies, was surmised past and present in New Andalusia. Juan Castellanos had the opportunity to stumble upon Muslims. So the Juan Castellanos stories and the stories of New Andalusia and the beginnings of Venezuela is these stories. They lying to you talking about the other Ghana, the other conquest of the other Ghana happened later. All at the same time, it don't matter, but the fact is we know that they lying and they ain't telling the truth. This Muhammad, he died in an overseas battle, but he all been dealing with people who coming from over here on their ass. Whatever going on, the Sharif Hamete take the conquest of Guinea, talking about this area. That's why she say Venezuela, because we getting next to right by Venezuela. And his elegies, he was talking about Moors, a old Spaniard from Venezuela. Now you can see a Venezuelan. So you look at Juan Castellano's stories. And it's the area of Guyana. Say Guyana, seaway with the Amazon region. You see the mouth of the dragon right here too. See Boca del Drago. And the Margarita Islands. Margarita also means pearls. Even this map reconstructed, but I still can see stuff like Cape Orange, stuff that gonna show up even in the Arabic records of the Moorish Empire. You're gonna see these places show up. But they ain't explain to you where all these people right here come from. Only in their way. They come from Africa on the slave ship, that's where they come from. You ask them. See El Dorado right there. And no more call itself El Dorado for reconquering it back from Portugal. My sister, we gotta get wiped out because people ain't wanna tell the truth. And we got Cabo Blanco right there. You go look up Sir Francis Drake's story. Again, he got nothing but dealing with Moors and the Kingdom of Fez and Cabo Blanco. You got the Arequifes. Arequifes next to Mayo. And all these places you're going to find on the coast of Africa if you go look. Some maps. You got Santiago of Leon. Go look up Leon. All Leon did was fight against Moors and reconquistas. Leon and Castile, this before Spain. New Andalusia and the Orinoco. You can see that Orinoco, and everybody has to be book spelled differently. German, Dutch, no matter. French. All these same favorite nation countries who got dealings with the Southern. I ain't gonna act stupid. The one in 1550 followed to prove Muslim presence in the Americas. We are ordered that no Indian make slaves in their land by any means. I think this Felipe II, because he used to make plenty Carlos. They've been trying to govern it. They've been making all kind of American laws, putting laws in the colonies and stuff like this. So even though they are of another demarcation, declaring it lawful to capture Turks and Moors. So that's what we're saying about Moros versus Cristiano wars. You had the Lugo coming before Columbus to clear out the Canaries for Castillo of infidel Canaries. That's the precursor to her saying in Columbus to rename everything that Lugo clear out over here to terra firma. which we're gonna see at the end of the series what terra firma come about, how it come about, and that's how it come about. He left Muslim territory open to the hunt for labor, a profession of the Canaries. And in the Indies, they allow those who come to dogmatize their Muhammadan sect or make war on you or the Indians who are subject to us. But those who are Indians and have taken the sect of Muhammad, you will not make them slaves. And the reason why they did that, because they probably had a treaty with them. Even if they stole under their own sect, Carlos the boy was not playing with you. Hold on for a minute. All right. So basically, you got kingdoms, territories, kingdoms, stuff like that, looking for the fifth or 20% of all the cargo coming in from a certain port over here coming into Europe. And New Spain, terra firma, and stuff like that. The one who capitulate to Spain, baptism, and become Indian or whatever they had, Negro, Indian, free Negro, kind of names that they got on these Christian colonies. Or if you've been in a vassalage state that had vassalage under Spain or Portugal or Moorish kingdom that put themselves under vassalage. Or any other kind of treaty. But to those who can still at war with them, they had license. They gave license to go rescue Christians or kidnap Moors or look for disembarked Moors, lost at sea, no allegiance. That's a 500-year war. They would try to convert them by lawful means and all that, because the workforce at this time is the Moors of the land, all over the place. And there would be, that basically is the workforce to build up the colony, right? The so-called, what they call in our reconstructed history today, they call it slave labor from Africa. But all they dealing with is labor forces on the colony. It's another book they get I ain't even put on that list, but another one. If you look at some of his thoughts. And thus, together with the certain incontrol- incontrovertible facts of the nautical expertise of the mysterious fish sailors, their beginnings, and the influence they exerted on the Mediterranean for centuries, bring us back once again to the main theme, that is to say, cartography, without which it is impossible to make sea voyages. We suppose that of Plato, Diodorus, Herodotus, Donnelly, Churchward, etc., among many others, they were right in their theories or expositions. Those ancient Atlanteans, Uyghurs, Carians, Olmecs, or Phoenicians, so you think they just wanted to say we could get into more of his theories on that. Same thing we been saying the whole time. Depending on the time or location, must have been magnificent navigators as Noah, the first Arcanum, must have been. Our base of support could be that man learned to navigate almost at the same time as to walk, since when he became Homo sapiens, he was surrounded by water almost everywhere. So he get real deep in this. This is a translation from it because it's in Spanish. It's a quick read though. There is so much to investigate on this issue. We also admit that long before they could have been maritime civilization whose ships ran the seven seas and even trace a map of places that today are offered for us covered with glaciers, and even places that today cover the waters and therefore they are non-existent. We know, on the other hand, that periods had been inspired. It would be better to say documented on all maps, some of which may have come down to us through our past. So basically what he's saying is the 1492 reset ain't nothing but it getting all these scholars, throwing all these scholars off to us in our times because we believe that story. We believe that in 1492 finally man figured out that even a whole another half of the planet and civilization ain't been over here and they have to bring it and all that shit. They radiate an impressive culture of altars, sarcophagi, philasters, and statues, which was influenced Teotihuacan and possibly the Mayan Toltecas, and the impressive cultures of Yucatan, talking about the Olmecs. It was the Mexican anthropologist, in addition to being a notable writer and painter, Miguel Covarrubias, who called the Olmec the mother civilization because arising from a strategic point in the Gulf of Mexico, he was able to spread its artistic ideas towards the south and the north. And could it not be the Phoeniques, the Phoeniques, Poinies, or Phoenicians, same thing, who from America, who influenced the people of the Mediterranean? So that's why I show you at the beginning the people in the Gulf of Mexico area on the walls. It seemed that they had reddish skin and hence the name that the Phoenicians gave them. And the color that they really talking about is maroon, like Alabama and Oklahoma, that maroon red. It seemed like all like the Redskins and the Washington Redskins. And hence the name that the Greeks gave them, but they didn't show up any day overnight. We owe the alphabet to the Phoenicians. No one has been able to understand how they come to master the Mediterranean or where they came from. Although it is known that they mixed with Amorites, Canaanites, Jebusites, etc. And soon there was the cul-de-sac that today is Lebanon, plaguing the city-states similar to the city-states that they formed in the Central American mine world. Jeroham and the Phoenicians in the 1876. Ediciones Destino, 1976, explains important Carthaginians, and I guess he means Phoenicians, were called Hajjubal, assisted by Baal Hannibal, beloved of Baal Hamilcar, servant of Melkart, which is the streets of the original name of the streets of Hercules or Gibraltar, or Bat Baal, daughter of Baal. And a little later he tells us, as from Astarte, the model of Aphrodite, came the most hardy, important, and majestic Tanit, also called Tanit Pene Baal, Tanit the face of Baal. So basically, they're showing you a lot of the stuff get found in this area. We're gonna see a lot of that later anyway. Olmecs are Phoenicians. The first other Phoenicians people of Mexico was located along the Gulf Coast, and the evidence of C14 dates as 800 years before Jesus Christ. Constance Irving, fair gods and stone faces. The Amerindian culture associated with the Phoenicians was the Olmec. It was centered in Levanta, the god kings and the titans. The Phoenicians, or Phoenices, as the Greeks called them, were also known as Punos or Pueni among the Romans. The Punic Wars are the historical fact that involved Romans and Carthaginians. So he just need to tell you we're talking about the same people, but it's just a timeline. If they were Canaanites, they were Phoenicians, and they were Israelites, Judeans, Tyranians, just like we read at the beginning. But we're dealing with the West right now. And then it became Carthaginian, then it became the Moorish Empire, Fez and Morocco. Right, as we see the Carthaginians, North Africa became Mauritania, Africa, Barbary from Rome. We will see that later too. By the maritime rule of the Mediterranean from the year 264 to 146 before Jesus Christ, Puno was also the name of the Andean region of Peru, precisely of a part of the highland that is surrounded Lake Titicaca, and that includes 9 provinces, in which all these provinces got names that go back to ancient Carthage. See, that includes 9 provinces, of which we are going to mention Melkart, like Melkart, Carabaya, Azangaro, etc. There is a mountain, the highest, called Nevado de Anania. And Lake Titicaca, there's islands that bear the name Amantani, Anapia, etc. So they etymologically using place names, showing you this thing now, ancient. And give us a little map. So Sardinia, these places like that, the Moors of southern France and Spain and Portugal, all this is the same people, these Atlantean races. And we definitely got the Moorish kingdoms right here. We just saw earlier the confines of Guinea. And they also set up kingdoms on this side, the kingdom of Judah, the kingdom of Tarsus, and Pun on this side. Father and son, Ham and Cush. And they say the trade one's going to tell you that it's actually trade winds, what they use for trade, world trade. What do you say? The Persians, Persus, Canaanites, Assyrians, the Greeks, the Pelagians, the Phoenicians, the Cretans, and the Egyptians. Almost impossible that they didn't have trade with the Americas. Another book to go look up, Power Utopias, Moorish Corsairs and European Renegades. Renegados. Peter Lamb, Vaughan Wilson. Look this up, the Mamelukes, 1250 to 1517. He's dealing with America too. History of the New World, Girolamo Benzoni, get into a lot of studies. Right here, I'll show you how to read Wikipedia. See, Wikipedia, Kaaba, the name, was first suggested by Estanislao Carrillo, but we're going to show you what it means. He believed it means strong hand in the Maya. They do that a lot. They'll try to act like they know what stuff means. But look, mentioned in the book of Kilam Balam of Kumail. So that name right there already showing us some ancient Moabite. And the alternative name is Kaaba Huacan. So they know Huacan means like sacred. They attached to a place, attached to other words like this means sacred place of. They got the sacred place of Tehuti, Teotihuacan. You see a royal snake as the serpent. But we don't need to look at that. We're gonna look at what it means. It means, see, it's a cube or it's a square, it's a sacred place. We can see in the Arabic, Kaaba means a cubic structure, a cube, a shrine. Focus of interest, Al Kaaba. So you ain't even gotta be that deep. So you gotta know. They always try to explain stuff away. We're gonna see that a lot. And you can go research it yourself. Like Cuba, a sacred place. You see the Cyrus cult, the Assyrian cult, and we see Amun. We had the Canaanite god Anat, also in the Assyrian cult. But in the West, we can see Amun meaning the West. You know Amun is, Lot had Moab and you had Amun. So they got the two feathered crown word of the falcon tail feathers and the two feathered crown right here in the West. I think that's the Tehuti temple, Teotihuacan, the falcon and the two feathers right there. It's like that. Which I think it just mean read and write. Gotta read and write at that time. As you can see, plain as day. Plain as day in the West. You can see that a good bit today. You can see again, they can try to modernize this. They already know. They say the mixed race people of Jewish Moroccan and indigenous Amazonian American descent. So they're gonna try to put it in the course, in a sense, to try to make it look like either some slave mixing and stuff like that. See, basically going by the city names, the bastard cities and the river villages of Brazil and Peru, including Belém, Santarém, Alenquer, Óbidos, and Manaus. So they're looking at these names like, hold on, just like we in Morocco, and Brazil, and Iquitos in Peru. Moroccan Jewish immigrants are all men. See how they try to act like they know stuff. arriving during a robber-born, married indigenous Amazonian American woman, and their current descendants are mixed ancestry mestizo. In the 21st century, Balaam have 1,000 Jewish family in Menegos, but they try to say they come from 19th century Moroccans. So you can just stop there and be like, okay, now that explains the so-called Judean Moroccan influence in South America. But they act like they know everything. They got an answer for everything, right? So let's go. With the Mariners declining, the campaign of Alonso V was scandalously profitable, without being stopped by the Sharif Abdallah, who waged war in Afriquila. To the squares of Alcazar, Caguer, and Ceuta, he added Tangier and Arcela, taken from the Moors of Allende according to Pulgar. So you got Moors in Africa and Moors in America at war. You see Moors of Allende, he's talking about America. He waged war in Afriquila. I don't know what that, I think that's North Africa on the other side. And I think he taking ports from us over there, according to Pulgar. That's why I say get Pulgar records. If you can find anything by him talking about the whole wars between Moors and Christians. Even though they were on the coast there as a result of the Portuguese tour of Westeros, there was a short-lived Westeros mean America. There was a short-lived Safi de los Cristianos. So they had created a Safi of the Christians on our coast. Short-lived doing it last long, which the Jews of Lisbon frequented. So you see, way before this time right here, we already got the Jews of Lisbon frequenting to a Safi of the Christians in America. And we talking about before 1492 in this. That's why none of this come in our history books. Unless you go look up the stories that happened between Moors and Christians over there, you gonna get these stories. But they gonna misplace you. Duly authorized, they traded with Anafi and Saleh. Revealer of contacts with Allende El Oro, the Allende of gold. His possession denounced the Sailor Society. The French boom of the 13th century could have its origin in those Normans who visited the Guinea of gold. Let me just show you the old the Guinea that we're talking about. Obviously, as demand grows and diversifies, the same happens with supply, inciting desire to acquire, although surplus production grew at infinitum. Grain or iron could not be converted into gold if it had been left over in France. It was because it was brought from somewhere. So gold wouldn't have been as valuable if they didn't get it from somewhere. And those Templars and old Normans of the old Roman days, just as left over from the old Punic War days, still been dealing with the Moors over here. They've been duly authorized to trade with Anafi and Saleh, these Jews of Lisbon. And also Normans of Normandy, which is France. That's why you see them with all them gold in history. You see them with no gold in European history. And all of a sudden, their nobility got gold. That means they find the Guinea of gold. They find trips to America, which all get reconstructed after 1492. Remember, Columbus got to be the first. None of this happened over here to them. So some more reconstruction. We see George III as George El Inglis, Sultan El Inglis, the Sultan of England, But if you see where he had territories over here. He said all his territories of the West inside the document. They call him Southern English. So you can see how Reconstruction work. See all these Portuguese right here. You see the Portuguese flag. 1500s, they say somewhere around the 1500s, but they don't really know. But what they do know is they know that these people were dark skinned. Iberian Peninsula, we dealing with, you see, Portugal. Shout out to PNF. You gotta be on his channel if you want real history, if you want stuff coming from a real perspective, not something parroted from other people. You got your own mind, eyes, senses. You can do the same. But this goes to show that we're still dealing with Moorish wars. Even George III. You see, 16th century, allegedly, they're going to put it after 1492 because they're dealing with the Reconstruction. Brazilian Tupinamba chief, a Brazilian Portuguese nobleman, and an Afro-Brazilian retainer. So he already dealing with the reconstructed history that Portugal been dealing with. Because they've been dealing with the Roman version of history, calling all the people in Brazil at that time Africans. All the Moors. Unless they've been high up like a priest. And he began called Caribs or something like that. Or Portuguese there to just say Brazilian. Young sons of the empire. Late in the game but still shores. You got the Indian in the east. We got the Indian of Africa, according to them, we call them a Hausa. We call them a Gold Coast Hausa. And you got the West Indian regiment, that's America. But we know we're dealing with England. England followed with Spain and Portugal. They don't even know what they've been learning, what they learned from the Spanish and Portuguese. The English is a dumbed down version of what's been going on before them. They've been around, but we'll see later. Even their language been different at that time. But this reconstructed English version of the world give us this. This is what we still got. They say the Lancers. The Lancers show up in South Carolina history, 1790. And the Negro, we see them show up. We see both sides of the Atlantic. We got the two Africas or the two Ethiopians still being played out. Even by the British, they still know what it is. Some more mercenaries. Some more West Indians, as they call them. They call them the Americans, which I believe is just a dumbed down version of Moroccan from Maricanos, the English being American. A lot of stuff happened throughout these times, this 500-year war. See the different regiments. Pay attention to the outfit. If you're going to show you how Algeria was everywhere, quote unquote Algeria, or anything Moorish, you've just been everywhere. You got this, see the crescent on top of that. You got the hand of Fatima, the hand of God. You got the crescent on their flag. Start to see that crescent a lot. just talk about that probably in the next video. So you got the same uniform on. These the Mamluks holding the flag of New York. Right, you got the Mamluk army in New York to show you that these treaties and these stuff that we talking about, Moorish history, ain't far away. That's really interesting, not because of the flag. I like the fact that they stole, showing you that they got that old flag, right? But that right there, say Luga or Lugo, do look like something, but right there, like I say, Guyana, again dealing with a Ghana, and we know Lugo been the one who supposed to clear out the Americas for Columbus to come registered, re-registered and renamed it, and they cleared out from the infidels that they talk about in the Treaty of Tordesillas. People that act like that been just Spain using the term that they know, infidel, to talk about Saracens, to talk about infidels as if they that know already been over here during that time. But they've been already over here 200 years before they write that. They'll just get reconstructed and throw away. So they only, and according to our popular history, they only been here 3 or 4 years before they write that. So the history make them look like they ain't really know what they've been talking about when they say subduing and enslaving Saracens, talking about America. So Phyllis Wheatley, the place where she allegedly write these poems, been a place called Saracen Head. We got Saracen Head and Moorheads. Cities called Moorhead, Saracen Head, and these places, Mississippi, plenty of places. We got right here, see, what, Turk's Head and Morehouse. These are Inquisition terms to show you at the old days they're sending more killers and name places that they conquered after stuff like Moorhead. We got early Lima, Peru. We got one right here. We got a more, they call them Moreno Libros, Free Moreno, and old man, they've been still called New Spain. But you know, the United States get free people of color and all that stuff from. They're using these same things that they study in these secret societies and these Jesuit schools and stuff like that. So you know, when you can look at these pictures, paintings from Rome, you gotta know these from all over the place, and a lot could be in America. They don't talk about who was these people, who was this, who was them. These abandoned castles everywhere. People supposed to think all this happened in Italy. These all woman pictures. Tons of those pictures like that. That's available, so imagine how much she was. Indian queen, allegedly. But you know, this right here is an ancient Asiatic custom with the umbrella on both sides of the Atlantic. We can see them in Bahia with the same ritual. Her crowns like the ancient Mediterranean queens, Moorish queens out there. Same type of crown. We go look at the like the little pins that they be having on with the Moorish pins. You would see some where they got that crown like that. But you see they got the same custom. And many other pictures show that across America. See, rituals. You see them with the all white on. We'll get into that later. members, royalty, nobility, and kingdoms. We're talking about them. So we can see them with all white robes again. Pay attention until you see the loincloth they got between their legs. Those loincloths start to show up in Andalusian tariff records before 1492. According to the research we've been doing, showing we believe we come from here, from Mauritania and the Moroccos, coming into Spain, Andalusia before Spain. And they called it Almazir, showing up called Almazir. The African Almazir, Almazar. So anyway, and this story reminds me of the fish spin because some of them boys have the top part too, look like the fish head and that hanging down at the fin. But you already know the seagulls, the original ancient seagulls was always associated with the fish, and we're gonna look into that god later. We got funerals, whole America. We can see the dress and the customs, the architecture matching up, I suppose. They'll call us Portuguese and Spanish because they match with Portugal and with Iberian Peninsula, but we show you that all these people is Moors. Going back to ancient times, way before they get to rewrite it a million times. So we can look into the customs, because people don't remember why they do things traditionally. They just do. So you can see they having the second line in this funeral. Got a cross in front over that boy. Showing you this, the whole Morocco is all these stories with the Muhammad and all that, dealing with this. That's what this the place where these happening. Never seen niggas no more with the clan type headgear. All this in America, New Orleans, same thing. See. They crying. This right here is another ritual that I don't even see being done, but funeral rituals, wedding rituals, all those things got historical aspects to it. The king of the world, El Rey. You see the Spanish use in America for that horse, the elephant, camel, donkey, look like the ram. All this allegory. The Spanish insignia. King of the world. As we can see, in the mid 1600s, late 1600s, we still got the fishermen's, the more stores fishermen's. You see them in these robes, robe staffs out there. They think these the Dutch, that's who painting this is so-called Dutch. See the walls. We see all these cities, these coastal cities. When you see these paints, got like 20 or 30 of them. They got all around the world, but look at the American ones. One thing we see on every coast is the Moors, fishermen's, cattle herding. Same thing that we were saying earlier, shepherds. Since ancient times, they know how to do these things, so that's what a labor force is. They've been running the Moors. Carlos, them boy, the way they've been running their colony, they've been running these Moors who even had decided to be down with them. They started leaving that shit later because of the caste systems that they put on them. Now they running back to Sharif territory. Carlos them territory and shit. Under the head of Negro, I'm gonna stop after this and go to the next one. The Century Dictionary say that the derivation is from the Spanish, Portuguese, and Italian word negro, and adds that the word Moor, black or Moor, is the same sense or much older in English. That's not completely accurate. It comes from the Latin word niger, Niger, that means black. But he using it in the sense of a people calling themselves Negroes or blacks. He's saying they really are Moors. But that's why really just for this right here where it gets deep. It quotes R. Eden, which I'm gonna be looking for his first 3 books on America as follows. Toward the south of this kingdom, see how old English is? Words spelled different. Of Guinea, with Senegal, Diafo, and Gambra, and many other regions of the Black Moors, even more spelled different, called Ethiopians or Negroes, all which are watered with the river Negro, called in the old time Niger, which is the Latin. Thus all writer uses the Spanish plural of the word. See, he didn't even know the truth, which omits the E. But what they ain't really getting into is the fact that he talking about Guinea, Senegal, Giafon, and Gambra, and Ethiopians and Guinea and all this. But he talk in his books, first 3 books on America. That should be the wildness. But this author probably even got it at that time that any place of Moors to them, to the Christians, of Africa or Ethiopia or land of blacks or that shit. No matter where you're on the planet. That's why you gotta get a Papua New Guinea. That's why you got these things, because of Rome. So we'll stop right there and continue in the next one.